Welcome back to another episode of UFO Garage.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Joe, and this is where we talk about UFOs, aliens, and all things weird, man. What's going on?
We're sitting here again, you and me, bud.
In the same room, face to face.
Face to face. In reality, this isn't a hologram.
Dude.
We can actually high five. So that's
we were just talking about this, how we've been in the same room, and then we separated and we talked to each other, but we've never been in the same room face to face.
It's different.
Right.
The StreamYard thing is, there's a computer screen, and I rarely looked at the camera, and even if you're looking at the camera, you're not looking into, gazing into each other's eyes.
Yeah, this is kind of nice. It's gonna be like
it's more human,
more conversational.
Yeah,
I like
we
it.
Actually have a conversation.
And you're right, it's not gay.
It's not, dude. I promise you.
It's totally not.
And those of you who are saying it, stop it, okay?
Because we hear it. We hear you guys.
I don't think anybody's saying Now they are. Now they're thinking it.
They're like, you know what? Now that you said it, you're right.
Y'all are super gay.
That's pretty gay. Yep. Well, dude, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
And what do you think, man? A lot has happened. Not much has happened. I mean, what's your thoughts on it?
A lot has happened, and a lot of things that have happened, but not a lot of things have changed.
I feel the same.
Have you thought about it that way?
I feel the exact same.
A lot more people are talking about it.
Yep.
It's sanctioned by a lot more people. I mean, dude, when we were doing our podcast back in the day, hardcore, like every week.
Yeah.
We were like, I hope the mainstream news starts talking about this.
Yeah.
And now I can't get it out of our freaking faces.
It's kind of like be careful for what you wish for.
Yeah. You're welcome, guys. We made that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's just another cool thing that's been taken over by the cool kids.
Yeah,
You know?
man.
Like the cool kids came in and took over.
The kids with like connections and money and like
Exactly.
And they're like, oh yeah, that was really cool. We're gonna do it, but like way better, just with less soul.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the automotive industry.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's funny because I've been watching a lot of stuff that's been coming out lately, and it's funny because you notice that, like, I don't know, it's fine, right? I want to put that out there. It's totally fine. It's really cool. I'm glad that a lot of people are starting to, kind of come around to the idea and like we're all believing now, right? But then, like, at the same time, it's like you have some of these new people that come in with the resources, and they're like, okay, I don't know if you guys have heard, but there have been things floating around in our skies for a long time. And like, as somebody who's like been into it, like since a kid, and then people before us, we're all like, yeah, I know.
We know that.
Why are we doing this whole song and dance again? Like,
I think it's because they want to start. They're writing the history books, and they want to start from chapter 1. They want to give the genesis. They want to be the voices, like, hey, just to let y'all know. Even though everybody else has been talking about this for 70 years in the same exact way.
yeah,
It's just, dude, it's got new branding. There's fresh faces. There's a shit ton of money behind it.
yeah.
I mean, I don't think people realize, like, productions alone, just making TV shows and, like, film and news stations. There's been a whole news station revived called News Nation. I'm sorry, but where did they come from?
Yeah.
And it's only about UFOs. They do some other stuff, but dude, come on. News Nation is for the UFO.
Mostly UFO stuff, right?
Stuff.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. I did see. So one of the things that made me think about that is we're going to talk about Skywatcher. That new series that's kind of come out, and and they're tracking this stuff in the sky and
broad daylight.
And it made me think of this because they have a classification system that they use, right? Where they've been classifying these things. And it's funny because, as of just a couple years ago, that poster that would always go around on like National UFO Day, and it would have all the different types of crafts,
moon
and stuff
shape,
that were on it.
yeah.
And it was just like a laughable product. That was something that you were like, look at what these UFO people think is up in the sky, right? And like nobody ever took it serious. But then here it is. So here's the classification. And again, I'm not I'm not making fun of it. Well, I'm probably making fun of it.
It's so cool. It's super cool.
It's very cool, and it's classifying the things that they've seen. But I noticed that it's missing like
17 of them?
like 20 other ones.
Yeah.
And that how these are kind of on the existing joke poster.
Yeah, all
right?
of them are.
But that's kind of the thing.
It's another rebranding thing, dude.
Totally rebranded.
And they're giving them names. It's, dude.
The joke poster is a joke poster. It will always be a joke poster or remain a joke poster. If you get it for Christmas, it goes up on your kid's wall as a joke poster. Yeah. But this is going to be used in like all kinds of things. There's going to be documents with like this thing in it. And it's funny to me, like you think about it and like, can you imagine like being in the CIA, receiving a document, and instead of having like this as like a visual representation, you got that joke poster with like 20 UFOs on it.
Like, I have this in my bedroom.
They're like, what is this? This is such a joke. And you're like, oh, we couldn't find, I lost the email. I couldn't send you this. So I just bought you a poster instead.
And like circled the ones that are also on the official one. They're like, yeah, they already had that down.
Yeah.
The jellyfish.
I should go this one.
I think the only new one is, I don't remember the jellyfish being on the old one. Do you remember that? The jellyfish being on the old one?
That was another thing, right? Because remember when the jellyfish thing dropped?
Yeah.
And
Jimmy Corbell leaked the...
And there was people were giving him so much shit about this isn't a jellyfish. It doesn't look like a jellyfish. Mm-hmm. The jellyfish is a joke. The jellyfish is a hoax. Well, now we have this thing called the jellyfish.
It's official, people.
Is it official?
And everybody is like, nice, Nico. Hell yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Nico. He's running our podcast.
He's behind the scenes guy.
The flipping. Yeah, we got a guy now, y'all. It's pretty cool. We got a 3-camera setup.
It's pretty cool.
You want to do a camera flip?
Let's do it.
Hell yeah. That's really
nice.
Good.
I like it. It's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
So, the jellyfish thing. Everybody was saying that doesn't look like a jellyfish, and now it's a whole classification done by the Jake Barber team at Skywatchers. Everybody, at least on like Twitter and YouTube, the content that I receive that's involved in UFOs, everybody's just accepting this as like, oh yeah, no. Yesterday I saw a beam, y'all. Like, hey, yesterday I saw a tetra. I swear to God, it was a tetra. What is that? Where people just automatically adopt it, and does it matter? Is that a good thing that we have like a baseline to communicate?
I think there's a new fascination with who's putting the information out. There's like these little categories, right? Because like we were talking about the joke poster, it's not really a joke. That's really what people have seen, right? But because of who put it out, it's classified as a joke.
They're going back to the cool kids starting, taking the nerdy kids' ideas and then making it cool now.
So now we have like ex-military people and like, super rich people and like CIA people. And they're like, we're going to take some cameras out and then we'll show you what we got. But the thing is, they're coming back with the exact same stuff that we already have,
Yeah.
And like I was telling you earlier, like I'm to the point to where it's like, just show me the picture of the aliens.
Just show us.
We've gotten to that point. We've really gotten to that point to where it's like, we know that there's stuff in the skies, right? And I was telling Nico this in the truck earlier on how I think that the UFO community should actually shift its focus a little bit because we're all still focused on what's in the sky. What is that? Who's inside of it? But I think one of the bigger things that we should be looking at right now is now, without a shadow of a doubt, we know that there have been programs set up to disseminate, false information to the public as a whole. And now that we know that for a fact, I think the UFO community should shift from what is that in the sky and who's flying it to, look, we all know something's in the sky and we know something or someone might be flying it, right? Mm-hmm. With the biologic confirmation and the crash retrieval confirmation and the confirmation of the bad information that's been spread out to the public. Now I think we need to shift our focus over to, all right, who was in charge of that information and who lied to everybody, right? Because now Now we can point some fingers. Now we have some names and like what was up with that? What was the program? What were you lying to us about? Because I think if we can figure out what you were lying to us about, we can X that off of our bingo card and get back to business of what is that in the sky and who's flying it.
Yeah, that's the whole part of disinformation, and it's a further like a building block on the fact that intelligence is the most important thing. It's strategy with war, and I do think there is a war of information going on.
100%.
For probably the most important reason.
Yeah.
I mean, the implications of other life forms being on this planet, interacting with us, and have been here for as long as I think they have, probably before the current human race. Dude, it's way bigger than I think people realize. Like, it's no longer, oh, there's just some stuff in the sky, and some people don't believe it. Like,
yeah,
there's stuff in the sky, dude. And they might be our rulers behind the scene, and they might be called the shots, and just we're like kids in a playground.
Who knows?
And the reason why we can't know about it is because if we did know that this all was true and who said this and who put that information out,
nobody would shop at Amazon.
Nobody would. There would be, yeah, exactly. No one would buy Orbeez.
Nobody's going to Target anymore.
I mean, my wife would still go to Target.
She'd still go.
She would. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's dude, it's an interesting thing on like who's pulling the strings, right? Because used to the people that were pulling the strings are now the people that are like setting up these teams, and they're like, we want to approve this. It's like, but you already knew about it. What do you mean you want to prove it?
You knew about it and you lied to us already. Yeah, now you're trying to start your own thing, dude.
Yeah, that's like, it's weird. It's a little weird.
Well, I guess, okay, when I say lie about it, does that mean they couldn't lie because they were under NDA, and if they talked about it, they would get killed by somebody?
Well, that's another thing, right? I get it. You know, I can't tell you this information. Why? Well, because I love America. Is that an answer that we're going with? Well, because I love America. I respect. Like, I get it. I love America. I also respect the Constitution. I think that there is probably some pretty good secrets to keep, right? But like, we're kind of getting to a point to where like this is just it's almost becoming silly. You know, like how many teams are we going to create to go and take a picture of the same thing over and over and over again? You know?
Yeah.
Like, again, I commend you. I think
it's cool.
It's very cool. I think these guys are doing a great job.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but like, are we going to keep, you know, beating this dead horse over and over again? Look at what we found. Yeah. I got one on my phone.
Yeah.
You know, It's not as good resolution, but you know what? When I look at your high resolution, it still looks like a blob. It's not any better. It's not really that much better than what we have. Now, you can sit here and tell me, oh, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We've got great photos. Then show me. Show me. Like, we're not talking about the technology. We're not looking at who's flying it. If you got a good picture of one, let me see it. Who cares?
Just let us see it.
Who cares?
Show us your boobs.
You know what I'm saying?
And when I say boobs, I mean show us the aliens and the UFOs.
And especially if you're looking at this craft and it has no rivets and it looks like it was done in a mold and you can't find the seals or the doors, who's going to know? It's just a disc thing.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice to see it. Can we at least just see it?
I know there's like a counter argument to like showing videos and photos because of some of them were taken on like military vehicles that have like telemetry overlays on the screen. And like, if it says, okay, at this date and time, we were at so-and-so altitude running a specific, you know, government or military exercise, like we wouldn't necessarily want our enemies to know when and what time, what altitude we run our exercises at. Like, I understand that that's sensitive information,
right?
But crop that shit out and just blur it. Like, why can't you just do that?
Do that, dude. Or you're just in a place you weren't supposed to be and don't want to show anybody.
Oh shit!
You weren't even supposed to be there in the first place. Like, I get it, right?
The reason why they can't show is because it's China.
In China.
All of it was China.
It was China. Dude.
Or Russia. I don't know. That's a good point.
So, I mean, again, I mean, where are these guys at? They're in the desert. Where?
In Texas.
In Texas?
Texas, bro.
Okay. Yeah. So, like,
I'm pretty sure. I think that's right.
you know,
I've watched the show.
there's like,
I watched episode 1 and
there's
2.
what, like 4 states you could pick?
Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Texas.
Anyway, yeah, they did a great job. I love it. It's super cool, but also, like, I guess I am complaining, or I'm just making fun of it, like certain aspects.
We're complaining a little bit because it's like, again, it's like, okay, here we go. I think the thing is when you've been a part of it for so long, it's just like, it's not like, it doesn't surprise you. Like when you watch it, you're not like, you saw what?
Oh, shit.
You know, like I saw 8 of those on Reddit last night.
Yeah.
You know, and no, there's nobody giving those people credit.
Yeah.
Well, just because it's a regular dude with his phone out.
It's just
and he took
really-
the same picture that you did, but because he doesn't have a 3-letter thing that he retired from and a buddy with a whole bunch of money, like there's no use for that or what, you know? So it's weird.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, maybe I'm just hating a little bit.
I think we are. I
Maybe
think
we're
I'm just a
hating
little jealous.
But
I want to be out in the desert fucking shooting, filming UFOs.
But you like what kind of like what that like that's a job, like you just go
that means that would be a sick job. All right, I'm turning back around.
you just lay in a beach chair, look at the sun all day, looking for UFOs.
That's what psionics is, dude. You suntan.
Oh yeah,
It's-
homo psionics. Yeah, dude.
It just means that you chill.
That's what homo psionics
Watch
means.
any. That's another term, the psionics thing, which just did not exist before like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Psionics. And now everybody's like, I'm a psionic.
That's
I'm a part-
totally me. And so
I am psionic.
I believe that with some people, but you know that there's a lot of people that are gonna be like, yeah, I've been a psionic since I was 8, and
That's what I'm talking about.
I've been psionicking since a long time, since before you. And they were like, but we've never heard you say that word. And they're like, I mean, it's just not really a popular word. I've known about it for years. It's a thing that I psionic all the time.
Are you psionicking?
Are you psionicking?
Dude,
right
last
now?
night I was playing Psionic the Hedgehog, man. It was sick.
Yeah.
Another one last thing about before we move on to the next topic. When we say, I was thinking about this the other day. When we say the UFO community, I want to be clear because I think that when you and I say it, I think we have our own community that we're speaking of that's a little bit outside. You know, there's some people on Reddit, there's some people on YouTube. But in reality, dude, there are UFO communities that are very specific to the platform. Like the Twitter UFO community, dude, it's a shit show. Like it's so bad. It's so negative. There's a lot of it, dude. A lot of good people on there, but they just get shit on it. And sometimes I think it's like
designed that way.
Yeah, like there's puppet accounts that's all they do all day is go and shit on people that are trying to actually have these conversations. I don't know. Maybe I'm being conspiratorial about it, but then there's another community on YouTube that's way different. It's still a little mean, but not as like ruthless as Twitter is.
Yeah.
And then like if you go to not festivals,
conferences,
yeah. That's a whole different community.
Yeah.
Like people are way more dope in person, obviously.
Right.
But it's such a cool vibe, even within conferences like UFO Con. You know, Lori and Fenton's, dude, like that's like family, dude. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely different vibes.
Yeah.
Definitely different vibes.
The UFO Congress, a little bit, you know, there's a lot more people there and it was, it made you want to like button up your tie a little bit. Not that we would ever wear ties, but.
Right. But it's like cliques.
Yeah.
Like the UFO community is kind of its own little clique, but then when you get inside of it, you break it down, you're like, oh, so these are like the writers and like the intelligence people, and then like, oh, these are more like the show people, and they'll kind of talk to just about anyone.
Yeah.
And then there's like the anti everything group, and it's just like,
But they're also believers.
but they're also believers.
They're like, I'm a skeptic, but
Yeah.
also I love this shit.
Yeah.
And everybody's wrong except for me.
And that when we were talking about this at Lowe's, like that guy, like I'm tired of that guy. I'm tired of I don't believe. I need proof.
It's the same. It's the same guy who goes when there's anything crazy happening in the news. They're like, "Yeah, I wonder what they're not reporting on."
Yeah.
It's that same dude.
You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this
It's a distraction.
There's always like that one guy on everybody's team who's like, well, I need to see the proof. I need the data. You know, I need the data in front of me to believe it.
He's saying the same thing that everyone else is. Like, show me the aliens. I
Yeah.
want to see the aliens.
Yeah, and it's just like again, it's like the cool thing to say, like, I don't believe, I need the proof, but like you've spent 12 hours out in the desert with a camera. Like, don't tell me you're just standing out there in a hot ass desert and you don't believe anything. Yeah, you want the data. Yeah, you want to see the proof. What makes you any different than anybody else? Even the people who believe 100%. We'd love to see the data. We'd love to see the proof. Hence, back at square one, here we all are again. The only thing is you're a douchebag and you're just like, I don't believe it. I need to see the proof. We don't need that guy anymore. If you're that guy, stop being that guy.
Yeah, just take a nap.
Have fun. Hop in and enjoy it with the rest of us. If you need the proof, let's find it. But you don't need to be that guy. We don't need that guy no more, you know?
Eat a Philly cheesesteak. Take a nap. You'll feel better.
Yeah.
Speaking of proof, I kind of want to talk about that next thing we're going to talk about.
Oh, that next thing.
You know what I'm saying? Should we go to the next image?
So this is a really cool story. We're talking about proof and like, weird things that have happened in the world. And, I'll tell you, man, we might have more like data and like pictures of this right here than we do of any of the UFO stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy. This is the Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Yeah.
In Mexico. Now, this is pretty interesting because there's a story of a man by the name of Juan Diego, and he's walking through the hills of Mexico. Well, let me start here.
The Holy Juan.
The Holy Juan. Yeah. Saint Juan.
Sí.
So this is in the 1500s, so it's a real rough time at this time, like in Mexico. Spaniards had come over. There's been a lot of fighting, a lot of stuff going on. Spaniards come, and they also bring Christianity with them. And it's kind of like a bust. These guys are like packing up and they're getting ready to leave. They have a couple churches out there, some missions, things like that. But not a lot happened. Their conversions were low. They estimate maybe 1,200 people in the entire country. 1,200 people might have converted at the time. Well, Juan Diego was actually one of these guys. You're just a small, humble farmer who lived in the area. And he would walk back and forth. His uncle was sick, and so he would walk these hills. Well, one day, Juan Diego's walking, and this lady appears to him. Now, if you're in the UFO community, you know a story about a lady appearing to somebody. And we'll get into that. Maybe not this episode, but we'll get into that. But that's kind of what drove me down this road, was that story.
Yeah, if you don't know about it, you should.
So she shows up to Juan, and she says, I want you to tell the bishop that I want a church built right here.
What does the lady look like?
Well, funny you should ask.
Way up.
So, she gets described as this beautiful woman. She's just luminous, just light is just surrounding her. She's got this beautiful blue cloak that she's wearing with stars on it. And how she appears is actually really fascinating, because if we're talking about this being the Virgin Mary, she actually appears to the Aztecs, the Mexican people at the time. She appears to them as a mestiza. Now, it's interesting because a mestiza is the lowest level of person that you can be at that time. It's a mixture between an Aztec and a Spaniard. And so they would have this baby, they called them mestizas. So it was really interesting that she would show up like that as the lowest level of person in the community, kind of showing her humbleness of how she's all of the people in the world. Those are all her children. She's the mother of all children. So for her to appear as the lowest level of the people in that area was like very significant. Yeah. Because at the time they were still writing with like pictures and things. That's how they communicated, was like with pictures.
Oh, it was that long ago?
Yeah. So they were, they had some little bit of writing, but it wasn't, like we have today. They were still communicating with images. And by one image, they could read an entire story off of one single image. So that was really interesting for her to appear to them looking like the people of the area. So that's
dope.
That's one really interesting thing. And we'll get into kind of the rest of like what it all means. But getting back to the story, Juan's like, okay, well, I guess I'll go tell the bishop. So he goes down to the church and he tells the bishop that basically, hey, I think I met the Virgin Mary. And she said she wants, a church built up here on the hill. And so, the bishop is like, nice, but I'm going to need a little bit more proof. So Juan is, again, walking down that path. And again, he sees her again. She appears to him. And he tells her, like, I'm just a simple farmer. Like, I'm nobody important. I'm not, this isn't a job.
I'm not your Juan.
I'm not your little Juan. And so, so she's like, no, you're perfect. I want you to go up to this hill and I want you to pick flowers. Now, it's cool because this is December. There's snow on this mountain, and she wants him to go pick flowers. So he goes up to this hill, and well, he sees exactly what she said would be there. He sees a bunch of flowers. So he picks all of these different flowers off this hill, and he puts them in the tilma, which is his little poncho thing that he's wearing. He puts these flowers in there and he takes them back to Mary and he shows her and says, hey, I did what you asked. And she says, good. Well, since the bishop needs a sign, I want you to take these flowers to him and he'll know what the sign means. So he's got all these different flowers in his poncho. And so he heads down to the bishop. And when he gets there, he says, hey, I ran into the Virgin Mary again. And I have a message.
I have all these flowers.
I have all these flowers. I got a message for you.
We gotta figure out a way to make money off of these flowers.
So when he drops his poncho, all these flowers fall out, but they're not the same variety of flowers that he picked up on the hill. They actually turned into, what were they called?
Peanuts.
Nope. Give me 1 second. They were called... Well, I can't even find that first thing on the list. They were Castilian roses. So I couldn't think of the name of the rose.
Okay, say that again so we can...
Okay. So when he unfolds his poncho and lets all the flowers out, it's not the collection of flowers that he had picked up on the mountain. It actually turned out that they were Castilian roses. And so what's cool about that is that Castilian roses are native to Spain.
Which is not where they were.
They were in Mexico, which was the sign for the bishop, in the chapel and in the church at that time.
And
because
the bishop was from Spain, so he was like, I've seen these roses and they only grow in my homeland.
Yes, exactly. That's even what
cool.
he sounds like. Yeah, so these roses,
That's what he sounds.
The roses come from Spain. They don't even grow. They're not native to Mexico. Not to mention, up on this hill, it's winter and there's snow on the mountain. Nothing's growing up there. But he finds these roses. So not only that, when he lets this thing down, not only do all of these Castilian roses fall out of his poncho, but this image right here of Our Lady appears on the tilma. It's
where the flowers were.
Where the flowers were.
That turned into roses.
Exactly. Now, what's crazy about this is that it's made from like an agave, like woven like cactus.
So this was the first screen printing on a shirt.
Kind of. It kind of was. Now, mind you, this is 1531. December 12th, 1531 is when this happens.
Did it have the bull horns? I always thought that was kind of creepy. I thought that meant the devil or something.
We'll get into that in a second because it's fascinating.
Or like a Beatles...
like the pinchers?
Pinchers.
No, this gets pretty fascinating. I'll get into this. But they lay this image appears on the shirt. This is December 12th, 1531, right? Okay. So this thing shows up and the bishop is like, okay. So now there's an actual church built there. Well, the crazy thing about this is that for the first 115 years of its existence, it was kept outside. It's kept outside.
The painting?
Yeah, the painting. Well, we'll get into that too, but it's not actually even a painting. It's really weird.
What?
It's not even like a painting.
Okay.
Okay. So this image, the thing about the agave and like the clothes that they wore is they would normally fall apart and decompose within 15 to 20 years. This image has been around for over 500 years now. And when you talk to like artists who deal with like art dealing and stuff, they say that there's no agave or like cactus fibered material that even exists from the 1500s anymore. It just doesn't exist. It doesn't last. There's nothing you can do about it. Even if you were to like try and spray it with something that would hold it together, it just decomposes. It just doesn't last, right?
They never heard of Scotch Guard.
They must have never heard of Scotch Guard. But this thing has lasted for over 500 years. This image that we're looking at is the original image that was on Juan Diego's clothes, and it's still there today.
So the thing that comes up in my mind is the Shroud of Turin, where they're finding out that image was also like wasn't painted. It's not blood. It's not ink. It's just like literally the molecules of the fibers are a different.
It's like
color.
It's like the negative of a photo.
Yes.
They said that with the Shroud of Turin, whatever happened, whoever was laying inside of that, it's like a massive bright light came from the inside of the cloth, shined out and created a negative image onto the cloak.
That's cool.
It's like a negative of a photo. And it had to have been done by stuff we can barely just now do today. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
no Juan knows.
No Juan knows. So
His name's Juan.
this image right here is completely fascinating to me. So they went in, a lot of scientists, dude, there's been so many people who have looked at this image.
Yeah.
They've looked it over, everything from people in the church. They bring in atheists. I think we're having this conversation how the church actually values atheism to the point to where like they use it to bring in and classify these things as miracles to come in and disprove it. We want you to come in and disprove it. And nobody has been able to do it. Nobody's been able to do it. In 1921, there was a terrorist. He was actually a communist. Ugh, right?
Oh.
A terrorist came in, and with a bouquet of flowers, he goes and he puts them at the altar. And inside of these flowers, there was 20 sticks of dynamite that he hid in this bouquet of flowers. And so he puts them up by the altar, right underneath of the painting.
Okay.
Right? This thing explodes. It explodes. It blows out all the windows in the church. It blows up the marble altar that they had that was right there. It blows out windows from buildings across the street. It was completely destructive. The crazy thing is,
nice.
Nobody in the church got hurt. And can you flip to that photo of the cross?
Oh,
for me real quick. This cross was placed right in front of the image.
It's all bent like.
It's a bronze cross. It's probably like, it's pretty big. It's pretty big. And it's right in front of the image. So you have this cross, you have the altar, and then you have the cross, and then you just have this single pane picture frame with this picture in it right behind it.
Huh.
The whole entire thing explodes, bends this cross like that. That's why they kept it.
Okay.
Nothing happened to the image. The glass didn't break. The frame didn't break. It didn't fall off the wall. Nothing happened.
That's nuts.
This image is kind of powerful too when you look at it because this bomb explodes. And who is Mary?
She's the bomb.
Mary's the Son of God. That's Jesus' mom.
Wait, Mary is this. Jesus is the Son of God. Mary is his mom.
Mary, so yeah, because God and Jesus are the same person.
Yeah.
Right? But Mary has Jesus. So
she's the mother.
In a roundabout way, you get to, Mary is the mother of God. That's what I meant to say. Mary's the mother of God, right? And this picture is so powerful because it shows you like Jesus himself protects his mother.
Oh, that's
from
cool.
He took the whole impact of everything that happened and protected her. And you relay that back into like just every day, like what did he do? He took everything for us. Everything. All of our sin. He took everything. So this is just like a really powerful picture that everything got destroyed. This got bent. It's right in front of his mother, and nothing happens to her.
That's super cool. Also, the bent, almost like if you put it next to a pregnant lady's belly.
Right? It would fit. It would fit right in there.
Belly, you know?
It would fit right in there.
Don't mess with my mom.
Yeah. So that's pretty powerful.
Dude, so back to how are we doing on time, Nico? What time do we start?
We're at 35 minutes. It's 4:08.
Oh shit! All right, cool. Okay, so I want to go back to this and talk about the eye thing.
Yeah, let's do that.
What's the name of this?
So this is the tilma, of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
The tilma of. Okay, will you say that one more time?
Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about the eyes.
So the eyes, dude, there's been so many optometrists that have come in and looked this thing over because they found something weird with the eyes. Dude, there's been people from NASA. There's been all kinds of people that have come in and looked at this image, and nobody can figure out what's going on with it.
Like in the pupil, right? There's like a reflection.
The specific thing with the human eye is that there's like 3 chambers. There's the front part, and then there's like that middle section, and then the back where it reflects off the back of the eye.
And then it's like the middle one's like upside down.
Upside down, exactly. So what they noticed in this image is that in her pupils, like where her eyes are, you can see the reflection. So like if I'm looking out into a room of people and you were to look real close at my eye, you'd be able to see the reflection of all the people. Like you'd even be able to like see faces in some cases, depending on like how far away you are, like the distance wise. And what they found was they found 13 people, including the bishop, in her eyes. And they're doing the reflective thing, and they've come in and they've looked at it, and they say that in the image itself, it looks like a living eye because it has like the characteristics of the 3 spaces within the eye. And they're able to find the images on one side, and then it would correlate to the second eye. It would be shifted just a little bit, and they're precisely exactly where they would be. Now, the weird thing about this is that the images, when she's looking, it's not an image of her looking at Juan Diego while she's fixing the roses. This is an image of Juan Diego releasing the roses in front of the bishop.
What?
So what he's seeing, she's seeing at the same time. So she sees the families. Whoa. She sees the bishop. She sees all of this stuff that Juan Diego is seeing. So it's from the perspective of her already on the tilma looking into the crowd.
Oh, shit. That's cool.
And you can identify 13 people in her eyes. No, they're not.
Oh, you gotta zoom in, dude.
You gotta zoom in on the eyes. There's like, you won't be able to see it in this photo. But there's a couple online that you can check out, and you read the story about
Jamie,
it.
bring that up. Dude. I mean, Nico, bring that up.
It's very impressive. There's been people from Japan take a look at it. People from Mexico. Like I said, there's like guys from NASA that came in, and all of them have the exact same conclusion of like, I can't explain it, but it is acting like the real human eye would act right now.
Who is the baby at the bottom?
So this is pretty fascinating.
It's a cherub?
This is an angel basically holding her garments. So first of all, how holy Mary is, this image kind of shows you how holy she is because there's an angel at her feet. And he's holding the garment, the blue garment, and holding the garment, the brown garment, or it's more like a pink color. Now these garments, the colors mean things. So the blue itself means the heavens, and the pink means the earth. So she's a virgin in this photo. She's carrying Jesus in her belly. The angel is saying that you have the King of heaven and earth.
Ooh, that's cool.
Now, remember when I was telling you about how the Aztecs, they only talked about like, they communicated with like pictures and images more than they, did with writing. So to an Aztec person, they would look at this and they would know exactly what it means. It took us years to break all this down and figure out what it means. But to the people at that time, they would know exactly what this image means. So when they looked at that, they saw that and said, wow, okay, heaven and earth, that angel is holding both cloaks. When you look at her hair, so in the Aztec time, it's loose and it's parted. That's the symbol that you're a virgin in their culture.
What?
Yeah. This little pin that she's wearing would be a symbol to the Spanish that were in Mexico, letting them know that she's from Christ. So that way the Spanish would also know that this wasn't a joke. But the Aztecs knew what was going on with the Spanish, and this let them know that, hey, I am the mother of God. And the reason that would be so important is because this sunshine behind her and this moon, this represents the sun god.
Oh, is that the moon? That's not horns?
And this is the moon god. So she is...
I thought those were bull horns.
Nope. So she's basically saying she is more important than the sun god and the moon god.
Whoa.
She is... her son is more important than their gods.
That's super cool.
Is basically what that means. And then if you look in here, you see all these flowers. There's a flower right here, right where her tummy is, and that's where Jesus would be. This flower in the Aztec culture, it means the center of the universe.
Whoa.
And the flowers...
There's two. One, two.
Yep. Well, these flowers are a little bit different, and these flowers would symbolize the change of an era.
Whoa.
So the Aztecs would see this and they would say, wow, so she's more important than the sun and the moon gods that we have. She also has the center of the universe in her womb, and it's a time, it's a new era is about to begin. This little black thing that she has right here under her arms, it's right over her belly. This symbolizes that she's pregnant. That's a chastity belt, or like I don't know if that's the right word, like a pregnancy belt, something like that. So that's what that symbolizes.
Whoa.
Is that's a pregnancy belt. So when you would see that, you would say, oh, this is a virgin who's pregnant and is more important than our gods. And she has something in her stomach that is the center of the universe and signaling a change coming. And not only that, but she's so important that angels are at her feet and they're ushering in the new king of heaven and earth.
Oh.
So there's a lot of symbology that's related to this image that they would connect with immediately.
That's so cool. Dude, the physical proof. I mean, I'm not saying this is proof of aliens or UFOs, but it's proof of some type of phenomenon. It's proof of something supernatural.
Sort of higher power, maybe?
It's a higher power.
So something crazy about this is that they brought in scientists to take a look at it, and there's no brush strokes on the image. Nobody painted it. They look at it and they put it through infrared, and they were checking out, trying to find the brush strokes. There are no brush strokes. The best that they could come up with is either there is no brush strokes or it was done in one brush stroke.
Whoa. That's wild.
The best. That's the best that they can come up with. And the diffraction, the image itself seems to be almost like a diffraction or a type of luminescence.
Oh yeah, the video you sent me was like, yeah, you take photos of it at different lights, different variations of light, and it's almost like a holographic, like Pokemon card where depending on where light is, more light kind of gets reflected back to you. So depending on the angle, and it's like, how do you? And it's not mixed, like the ink isn't mixed with gold or anything, right? Like it's not, it's just...
There's no ink.
Some type of, it's not a pigment or...
There's no ink.
That's weird.
And that's where it starts to get really crazy. It's like, okay, because you notice I've been refraining from calling this a painting. I've been calling it an image this whole time.
Okay.
Because it's not a painting. They noticed this in nature. Like,
hey, you better not tell Samsung about this because they've been looking for a roll-up computer screen, phone screen.
In butterflies and in certain birds, they have like this ability to do that in nature.
Iridescence.
Yeah. And so they say...
Like hummingbirds?
The closest I can come to would be that. Mm-hmm. The closer you get, the paler her face looks. And the further away you get, the more olive tone she becomes. The image starts to, there's contrast in the image, from wherever you're standing, and it's not paint.
That's crazy.
It's not paint.
It's crazy.
Her tummy. So they've even found the Fibonacci sequence in that for the Fibonacci people out there. Fibonacci sequence is right here. Dude, can we go to the image of the stars? So this is an overlay of the stars. No, you're good. Can you throw me one too? This image is
Nico,
insane.
can I hit the camera with this?
Yes! Success.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Oh, you're going to get
Ciao, dude. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
We're doing it.
We're doing it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Woo! We're back, y'all. I have missed this so much. It's so fun.
So with this image right here, so awesome.
We got booties up here, top left. Sorry.
Yep. They brought in Juan Hernandez. He was an astronomer, and he was taking a look at this, and he was taking a look at the stars on the original image, and he found that the stars on her cloak, you know how they have the that computer program where you can reverse the
Constellation of like where they, yeah.
December 12th, 1531, the exact same day she showed up and imprinted the image. This image, if you turn the stars back and you overlay it on top of the Virgin, all these stars match exactly with her cloak.
What?
Every star matches
That's just a coincidence.
exactly with her cloak. Everyone. And not only that, but if you were to look at this, you're not looking at the sky like this and laying the stars on top of it. You're on top, looking down, laying the stars on top of the image.
That is so
The
cool.
exact same time. Now check this out. Corona. What does Corona mean?
The most delicious beer there is.
It
One of
means-
them.
It means crown.
That's right.
The Corona Borealis.
Yeah.
Look where it's at.
It's on her head.
Right
dude.
here on her head. Then you come down, Virgo. What is the Virgo? Well, that's a virgin. The Virgo is a virgin. Now you come down to here,
That's
Leo.
a lion.
That's a lion.
That's where Jesus is.
the king of Judah, the new king, which is the lion, is going to be coming back. It's in her stomach, bro. So this image too. There's another image. We don't have to Google it. If you want to, you can. But those of you who are out there watching on your computer or whatever, you can Google this too. They actually held a mass, 2007, I think. They held a mass for unborn children. During that mass, the image darkened, and her stomach, her womb, it lit up. What? And there's actual photos of the image
That's so cool.
of the womb lighting up. It's just a very interesting, powerful image to look at. And like whenever you go in and you read the history behind it, right? Because she didn't come with fire and brimstone. She didn't come like looking to start nothing. She showed up as the humblest of people, the mestizas, right? And she picked the humblest of people to relay her message, like her humility and just like her humbleness, the way she showed up is basically like, this is love, like pure love. Like you are all my children. Like as a mother, like that's awesome. And not to mention when we first started this, we had talked about how the Spanish had failed in their conversion rate. They only converted maybe 1,200 people. Within 10 years, over 9 million people converted to Catholicism. 9 million people.
That's wild.
Because of this image.
Because the physical proof.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And again, you know, it's one of those fascinating things. And we can go ahead and go to the next one because she doesn't just show up there. Bro, she shows up all over the place. It seems like, you know, you look through the Bible and like the Old Testament, like God shows up and he does certain things at certain times. He interacts with people. Then Jesus shows up and he's like, hey, so I am, you guys can't figure it out. So I basically am God. I came down here in human form to kind of show you what we need to do. And they still get mad at him and then they crucify him. And then after that, after he rises, it seems like the mother does a lot of the work. The female aspect of all of this does the work. She shows up, and she's been showing up for over 2,000 years.
That's what
now.
moms do, man.
That's what they do, man.
Ugh.
When you're crying, they pick you up. You know, when you're hurt, they help you. When you're hungry, they feed you. When you're lost, they guide you. That's what they do. Good moms, anyways.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody's mom is perfect, but in the, you know, in the grand scheme of things, that's an amazing mom.
Yeah.
So for her to show up constantly throughout history it doesn't seem like an accident to me.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like the UFO thing. Well, how many UFOs have to show up before it's a coincidence? You know, before it's not a coincidence anymore. Well, same thing with this. How many times does she have to show up in front of you, and not only in front of you, but in front of other people?
Yeah.
And this next one that we're going to talk about, Our Lady of Zeitoun, Egypt, this one is really wild because this one happened in 1968. And she showed up for sometimes 3 minutes. Sometimes she would show up for 9 hours at a time. But she stuck around till 1973. And she would show up maybe 5-6 times on some days. She's seen by over millions of people.
Yeah.
Millions of people have seen her.
Is it one specific church or?
Yep.
And she would just appear.
It's an Orthodox Coptic church in Egypt. And so that's really impressive too, because we know the story of Jesus, and when he was born, they went to Egypt to hide from King Herod for a while before he started doing what he was doing. So Egypt probably holds a pretty important place to her as the mother. So for her to show up like that is pretty impressive.
So cool.
Not only that,
I love that photo too.
But dude, she showed up. You know who the first 2 people to see her were? 2 Muslim guys. So like, she's not just showing up. Like, you don't just
To
see
those
like,
who believe.
Yeah, she's not just showing up to people who believe or like to Catholics specifically. Bro, she's showing up to Muslims. She's showing up to atheists. She's showing up to Catholics. She's showing up to doctors and professors, and like all of these people have seen her. So in that course of time, millions of people saw her. At one time, they estimate that there was over 200,000 people at one time witnessing her.
That's wild.
And they all have stories of like smelling this beautiful incense smell. And she would walk back and forth across the top of the steeple. You can see that there's a cross right here. And she would occasionally walk to it and she would bow down to it. And she was holding an olive branch. Whoa. And like, what a good place to have an olive branch.
Why haven't I seen this photo before?
Exactly.
I've never seen that before.
Exactly.
That's wild.
It's so impressive. And
that's what a photo of an angel to me should look like. Or I don't know, like a divine being or a light being or something.
you can clearly see her standing like this. Yeah. Oh, that was something.
Also, the crown around her head, the circle.
The halo.
That's been painted in all these paintings. But, I mean, that's a real photo, dude. Like,
and
what is that?
So here's the church, the actual church. And so you can see where she's standing compared to the church, because there's the cross and there's a cross. So she's standing over here on this side of it.
Is she huge? Is she tall? Like real tall? Oh, she's like floating up above.
Yeah.
Whoa,
and these were like newspaper photographers.
That's wild.
And they took these pictures of her. And people couldn't walk, and they would be rolled up to the front of the church. They were walking. Whoa. You know, like there was people with illnesses who were going here and they were actually being healed. You know, people who couldn't see. You know, there's people who like spent the rest of their, you know, I was watching this one where it was a professor, and he was like, staunch atheist. I write books. I saw this, you know, in the 60s, and my entire life has been dedicated to figuring out what it was.
Dude.
And I've come to the conclusion that I'm not an atheist anymore. You know, to have something so significant like that happen to you, that your entire life's work changes from there on out.
But it sounds like a similar story.
It does.
That I've experienced myself, where I saw something I couldn't explain, and I kind of devoted some of a little bit more, some years than others, trying to figure out what the hell I saw.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was. I think it was a UFO.
Could have been. Could have been. Oh,
So I understand where that comes from. I think a lot of people have that experience where they're like, dude, I didn't want to see that, but I did.
so a lot of people also with this image, they report that there would be 12. There was 12 doves that would fly above her.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, you were saying this. Yeah.
And they, just
Any significance with the number 12?
I don't know,
12
disciples,
the zodiac. The 12. Yeah, 12 disciples. 12 the zodiac.
12 disciples. There was something about this image right here. I forgot.
12-inch subs at Subway.
So back to this Lady of Guadalupe real quick. Her hands, like we always assume like she's praying, but this was really important to the Aztecs
Actually, she's holding something.
because you can also notice that her knee is a little bit bent. So she's in like this bent knee, almost like leaning forward. This was an Aztec victory dance that they would do. So for her to show that she has victory over the gods of the Aztecs was pretty important too.
That's cool.
Also, we don't have it, but in this image, this star, there's been composers that have looked at this.
Oh yeah,
And
music.
and we'll add in some music maybe later, or you guys can just go check it out. But if you score it on the lines, it creates a perfect harmony. Random stars, right? They're random, but they match with the stars in the sky, and then you put them on music bars, and they have perfect pitch and perfect harmonies. They're not just random. It's an actual song. Again, this image is not painted by a human being. It just showed up on his tilma.
We should go see it.
I would love to go see that image.
Where is it again?
It's in Mexico City.
Let's go.
Let's do it. But yeah, so
Dude, yeah, I would love to like see that in person. It'd be sick.
There is a story in the UFO community.
Yeah.
There is a story in the UFO community about somebody seeing a woman.
The lady, Chris Bledsoe.
The lady, yeah, he sees the lady, and I know that there's stuff floating around that it was Hathor and this and that, but I don't know if I believe that.
Remember when Ryan was on our show? I was like, because I dove into Egypt gods, and they hadn't explained to the public that it was Hathor, that the lady told him it was.
Yeah.
But I asked Ryan on that podcast, I was like, hey, is it a Hathor? And he was like, how did you know? You remember that? How did you know that? We haven't told anybody that.
Yeah.
Just saying, just for the record, I called it.
And I think I had talked to you before about how, the plagues that God sends over Egypt, one of them is all the cattle die. So, Hathor being this goddess of cows.
Well, she was depicted as a
as a cow. But there's also other gods that are connected to cattle. Hathor is just one of them.
So,
But the fact that
you're basically saying like maybe you don't, maybe he's been misled into thinking that it was Hathor, or maybe it was actually the version.
I think maybe he was misled. Again, I'm not throwing shade.
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about.
Yeah.
I don't know the in-depthness of the story. Who knows? Maybe it was Hathor. But I'm going to tell you right now that this lady has shown up more times than Hathor has. It's documented. She is the mother, and she tells Juan Diego something very important that you also hear in the Chris Bledsoe story, which is go and tell your story, and I will be with you.
Yeah.
That's the most important part for me of his story, is that's what she tells him. But she tells all of these. Our Lady of Fatima, what does she say? She tells them, tell them your story,
Yeah.
and I will be with you.
Yeah.
She's saying the same thing to all these people throughout history. And then Hathor shows up and tells Chris Bledsoe, tell your story and I'll be here with you. I in my gut feel like it's not Hathor, especially if God ran through all those Egyptian gods like they were just paper in the wind, killed them all.
And is that where is that in the Bible where like Mary defeats the gods, or
No. This is God himself. This is Old Testament, Exodus.
Oh, that's right.
Moses is bringing his people out of Egypt. The Pharaoh won't let any of his people go, so he goes through the series of plagues. So the God of the Nile. Well, God kills that god. That's why the Nile turns to blood. He killed your god.
Okay, yeah. So the plagues are representative of God
The gods.
killing the old gods. That's why the plagues
Yeah.
happen.
Because they say that their gods will take care of it and their gods won't let your god do anything to me.
Yeah.
So the god of, they
The crickets, the cicadas. Which god was that? I want to know.
they all, I have it right here. I have it right here. He comes
God
through.
cricket.
He comes through and he wipes them all out, and it's kind of sucks because like if you're Pharaoh, because Pharaoh views himself as a god, which is the last one,
And his son.
and his son dies. So not only are you not God, but your next generation will have no God other than me.
That's some.
It's
laying
crazy.
down the law.
I mean, it's one of those things where like you can read it in passing and you're like, oh, well, that's interesting, or like maybe I don't really understand it. Let's see, I have it right here. But when you like really put it into perspective and you start pulling things from other sources and building out this whole thing, you're like, dude, this makes a lot of sense. So let's see. Water turns to blood. Kunum, Hapi, and Osiris. The Nile was Osiris's bloodstream. So God kills that one, and it all turns to blood. The frogs was the goddess of Egypt, Hapi and Haket.
No way, her name was actually Hoppy.
Hapi.
That's cool.
Yep, and Haket. He brings all the toads. The lice is the god Seb, the earth god of Egypt. The flies was Utachit or Uatchit.
Who talks shit?
Uatichit? I don't know. The fly god of Egypt. Disease on cattle. Ta, Menivis, Hathor,
Oh,
Ammon. These are the Egyptian gods and goddesses associated with bulls and cows, which is important to that story as well because a bull comes out, obviously. Boils, Sakmet, Serapis, Imhotep. So the god of boils, Egyptian goddesses and gods of epidemics, the gods of healing. Those were the gods. So that's why they all got sick, because the one god came through and said, nope, you're not more powerful than me. Same thing with hails, locusts, darkness. Yeah, dude, when you think about it, Amun-Ra, that's like like
That's
when you're
a son,
talking about
that's-
like Osiris and Amun-Ra, these are like the most powerful gods in Egypt.
Yeah.
And God said, no, no.
he sent him to the back of the class.
Like it's just it's kind of wild, So the idea that I don't think that these other gods would probably overstep their boundaries and continue to overstep their boundaries throughout history.
Yeah, it's not like do you think they were defeated, or they were just like, hey, you go away for a while? Do you think those entities still exist?
Well, when you think about the spiritual realm, I think you could be killed with maybe a revival of some sort. Like you've killed me spiritually, for 3 days, and then
or maybe he made them physical.
maybe
Like an entrapment, like a physical jail. They he made each god like an immortal lizard, or an immortal worm.
I don't know.
It's like you'll never.
I don't know if he's specifically like killing these gods, but he definitely made them bleed. And he definitely had enough power to where they couldn't intervene at all,
Damn. Do you think that enough time has passed to where maybe some of those gods have gotten out of their cage and are starting to manipulate?
Based on faith.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
No, wait, what'd you say? Based on faith?
Based on faith. Yeah, remember my theory about the more people believe in a god, the more he can interact. That god can interact with our being.
So like the more, yeah. So if you couldn't hear Nico, what he said is like the more that you put faith in a god that's not the god, or whatever your faith is, if you believe in Hathor, the more you put energy into her, the more you're releasing her from the cage. Or I said Hathor because it's the only one I could think of.
Right.
But let's say like people started like a cult like that started talking about Amun Ra a lot. And they're like, no, he's the guy. Like more and more people, like maybe that releases them from their cage of some kind.
I think there's something to that. You see that like with the occult and things, they play with stuff that is not God. You know, they think it is, but it's not.
Like, I wonder if like seances and like demons who do bidding and stuff, like maybe there are real fucking demons, but maybe they're actually just really powerful entities that we just don't understand, and some of them go by names.
So demons are kind of fascinating. When you look in the Bible and you see that, the fallen ones mate with women and they create the Nephilim, right? The giants. They create this super hybrid human, half human, almost a demigod type thing. Well, when the flood comes, I believe in Enoch 1, they talk about how demons now, after post-flood, coming into the new world, the demons are disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. So they already existed, and they were basically like banished to an eternity here on Earth. They couldn't go anywhere. They can't do anything. So they're disgruntled, disembodied spirits. But the thing about demons, right, is that what makes it so painful for demons is the fact that they still have like bodily requirements. Like they have the feeling like they're hungry, they're thirsty, they want sex, they want drugs, they want to be drunk. They want these things that humans feel because they felt it. They were half human. So they have all the needs that we would, right? So if these are
Could you imagine like you tasted Totino's pizza and then you're just a disembodied energy? Yeah, you just couldn't have Totino's pizzas anymore.
So when we look at this, they're the Nephilim. They're the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim that are roaming Earth with us, basically. So you notice like when like you have an addiction, or like people are like, I'm addicted to sex, or like I'm gluttonous, or I'm so lazy, right? Well, these spirits have these bodily functions that they want to accomplish. So you get possessed so they can consume that bodily feeling that they want. I want to be lazy all the time. I think this guy would be a good candidate. So it attaches itself to you, and now you're just lazy, and now it's just sucking off what it wanted. I have a crazy sexual addiction. Well, maybe this
you do
this demon in his previous life before he died was like, just running rampant, just doing disgusting sexual things. Mm-hmm. And now that he's dead, he still has that craving. So it attaches itself to you, and then you kind of have take on the same struggles that they are taking on, right?
And back to that thing, the more you give that thing energy, that
exactly
that desire or
the more
that
it
addiction
manifests itself.
So you're like, I mean, that kind of breaks it open into like, is human original sin, if we can call it, is that a trait of humans, or is that just a law that says, hey, if you do those things, you're going to invite a demon in that's probably going to share your energy?
It doesn't.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So they would say that the people who get attacked by demons the most are the most holy of people. That would be your highest end of.
We're safe.
Yeah, dude, we're good.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, this is where it gets tricky, right? Is that if you are extremely holy, what is their objective is to make you sin, to take you away from God. Now, here's where it gets tricky, right? Because if you don't have any demons, that means they don't have any work with you. That means you're already not doing what you're supposed to be doing. They don't have to worry about taking you away from God. You're doing a great job on your own. So that's where it gets tricky, and your struggles in life.
I feel like most people live in that gray area.
Exactly. Because it's very, it's too much work
for them the demons to be like,
well, it's too much work for the human, right?
Oh.
It's too much work for the human to do what's right all the time. It's too much work for them. There's no way. We all have the original sin, right? We can't escape that.
Yeah.
That's why Jesus dies on the cross, right? To forgive us from our sins. But you still got an open bar tab sitting there. Yeah, you've been saved, but like, what all are you going to put on that bar tab that when you get to the end of it, you're like, oh shit, that wasn't terrible, but damn, this receipt is big.
This is a Walgreens receipt.
Like,
dude.
then you say, thanks for saving me. Sorry, I was such a POS my whole life. Like, it's, you know, when I was talking to you earlier about self-responsibility and just like keeping yourself in check, you know, when you live in like a secular world, and then you figure out the power of, there's real power behind this. When you figure out the power of, I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything. I don't have to. You go to a job and they make you mad. And then one day you're like, you know what? What are you going to do? I don't have to do this. Or like helping somebody across the street or like a neighbor or a family member. And you're like, I'm going to make up an excuse. I don't have to do this. When you live in this like realm, the secular world of like no consequences and no responsibilities because you can do whatever you want to do that makes you feel good, you come into this gray area. And we all live in this gray area. And that's the hardest part is like, how can I improve my life to get above this gray area and try and stay there? You know, you got to have the accountability. You got to have your own responsibility. You got to be responsible for yourself. You keep tabs on yourself. And I know for me, I've spent over 20 years keeping 0 tabs on myself. You know, I haven't been accountable for anything, but everything that has happened to me and where I am in life now is all my fault. You know, so there's a shift in like a way of thinking. Am I perfect? No. Am I going to be perfect? Absolutely not. But I think just the change in the mindset of like accountability is huge. And stepping away from this nothing matters attitude,
right,
and this I can do whatever I want to make me feel good attitude, it has to stop. And I know a lot of people, if I'm saying it, a lot of other people are kind of feeling that same way. And you're just kind of thinking like, why? Nothing works. Why doesn't anything work?
Yeah.
Well, dude, because you're not being accountable for yourself, and you can do whatever you want.
It's a double-edged sword. You can do whatever you want. You also can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
You know, you can choose to wake up every morning and be like, oh, thank God I have a house and a car and people who love me.
Yeah.
Or maybe if you don't all have all that, man, thank God I have a tree to look at. Man, thank God I have somewhere to sleep at night.
Yeah.
You could, that's your choice. You could do whatever you want.
Good.
Which life do you want to live? The one where you're just miserable all the time? Or do you want to be fucking stoked every day? Like, and I find the more that you wake up with that gratitude, the better your life gets. And the more you keep yourself in check, like you're saying.
The gratitude,
I'm not perfect, dude. I got that Walgreens list.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Bro, the gratitude is huge. You know, it really is. It's huge. You wake up every day and like, I remember when I used to just wake up and like not care. Like, oh yeah, everything's just here. Good job day. It's another day.
Yeah.
It's not, dude. Like every single day is more epic than the last. Even if it sucks.
It's an adventure.
Even if today sucks, it's more epic than it was yesterday. Because now I have the accountability to make it awesome.
Yeah.
As opposed to just letting life happen to me. I make life happen now.
Ooh, I like that.
You know?
That's fun, dude. I love this.
Dude.
I love this stuff, dude. I mean, the journey is a long one.
It is.
But going back to like the podcast and what this podcast is about is just, I mean, dude, how we started this thing was just talking about UFOs and aliens. But oh my God, have things just taken a meandering stream. I mean, we had kids. That has changed a lot for me. Dude, I miss sleep so much.
What is that?
And I miss talking about UFOs. But I'm just loving this kind of new understanding of like, what is this? What are we talking about? Where's our attention going? And I love talking about this kind of stuff. Like not only the supernatural things that have to do with energetic beings, and UFOs and the paranormal, because I think it's all a part of the same dang thing. And at the end of it, I think is this positive thing that you and I are talking about. I think that's the end of it. Not that like, oh, we have proof that there's aliens and God exists. I don't think it's about that. I think the end, the positivity is like, oh, we all just have like, we choose to have a better life now.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's a bit of a leap, but that's where I'm at right now. I think you are too.
Yeah, I definitely have I definitely got a shift on an outlook on life, you know? I wanted to say something about the paranormal, and I learned a new term, and I think that terms are important because they describe what something is. We got to stop this just describing shit however we want to describe it type thing. And the word is preternatural. It's hard.
You got it, Bubba.
Preternatural. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's beyond what is normal or natural. Preternatural.
Say it again.
Preternatural.
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 So something beyond what is normal or natural, right?
Dude.
Okay, so then you look into, well, what is the supernatural? And supernatural then dives into like spirits and the ethereal realm, angels and demons and gods. Supernatural, right?
Yeah.
And like, what are we dealing with here? We always just call it the supernatural or like the paranormal.
Right.
Preternatural.
Preternatural
is a word. Preternat.
Preternatural.
Yeah, preternatural. It is beyond what is normal or natural. That's
what we're talking about.
How many things happen to us that we call supernatural that aren't supernatural? They're preternatural.
Preternatural.
You know? And we're just using this wrong
Why are we
term.
saying supernatural?
So then whenever things happen on the supernatural level, like these things that are basic that are happening to us here now are just preternatural.
Yeah.
It's a distinction.
That's a new term everybody's gonna start saying.
Yeah,
now.
Preternatural.
Preternatural.
Everybody should start using
Put it in the zeitgeist.
You're gonna be like, hey, dude,
file it.
So I was looking at the sky, I saw some real preternatural
things.
Like,
it doesn't roll off the tongue very well, but
it doesn't.
It's gonna be one of those things like we're gonna know if people start saying that. You heard it from us.
Yeah,
preternatural.
So like you're walking, and then like maybe a broom falls over in your kitchen, and you weren't even in there. Preternatural. That's not supernatural. You know, we don't know if it was supernatural. It's preternatural.
Or that was them ladies with the wings in Sleeping Beauty.
Maybe the fairies.
Yeah, they make the mops. They made they clean the house, and the broom's all like. It's like the last thing.
Yeah,
he's like
yeah.
Just before Aurora comes in there.
But
I watched that show with Evelyn.
Yeah.
The movie. So, dude, that was a pretty damn good first ride back.
That was, dude.
Back in the saddle.
Yeah, it was good.
That was so fun.
Yeah. I'm so excited to get back into this just because like there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
And there's so much that can be linked directly back to stuff that we've been talking about for years now. And I'm excited to kind of like open this new chapter and like add more to the puzzle, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, It's like I used to like have no direction. It could be this, it could be that, it could be over here, it could be this. But now I have a guide. I have a direction. I know exactly where everything falls, and everything else that I was trying to figure out can now be put into these slots.
Are you saying that you're closed-minded?
No, I'm not. I'm saying
maybe focused.
I'm saying that I'm so focused on a direction of how things are supposed to be that everything that falls out of that can be brought into focus a lot easier. So now I'm not just like guessing like, well, it could be this. Why am I going to sit here and just, it could be this my entire life?
Yeah.
If I have it's right there. Everything we've talked about, it's like, well, what about this? Well, I can go and I can find it somewhere. I can find the answer, and then we can take that answer and we can look at all the other things that have happened throughout history, and we can say, you know what, maybe this doesn't match up, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. I think one of the biggest things that like people miss or that like turns people off, like I appreciate you guys listening to my whole Our Lady spiel, dude. Because, you know, I think growing up in that, maybe if you are more churchy or whatever, you kind of get a sense of like, okay, I've been told my whole life this thing is real, but I've been told my whole life that all this stuff over here is not real. And I think that's a big turnoff for people getting into their teens and their 20s, and why they move more towards like, you know, just like weirder stuff, right? Because they're told it doesn't exist. But I think it's extremely important that we know that not only does this Virgin Mary stuff exist, not only does God exist, but all that other stuff, these like weird like ghosts and aliens and demons, that 100% exists.
Yeah.
And you need to know what side you're on. It exists.
I don't want to be on the side of the creepy aliens, man.
You don't.
Not the creepy ones. Maybe the nice ones.
Well, maybe.
You know.
But, you know, here we go. Like, we're talking about this thing and like, well, what, you know, what does God have to say about this or whatever? It's like, we don't know. Nobody has answers. Vatican doesn't have any answers. You know, your Protestant preacher down the street, he has zero answers. They're going to come up with stuff that like, you know, might make you think a certain way, but I don't think we have definitive answers on any of this. And like, why not? On our last episode that we did, we had talked about this on like, okay, there's a guy who was abducted, put back. There was a guy who had a vision and was put back. And then there was a guy who had a holy experience and put back. All of these three experiences can happen. It doesn't mean that they're all the same exact thing. Why couldn't they all exist in the same exact space?
Yeah.
We're just too eager to take all of these things and lump them in so we can figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
When reality is they're probably very different, and it's going to take longer for us to figure out all of this stuff than it would be to just lump it all together and be like, that's what it is. That's what it is.
I 1000% agree.
So I think there's a lot of, this has opened more roads.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be fun to be like, hey, that might fit into knowing that it's all one pool. I think it just the way our human brains think and puzzle, you know, we like to solve puzzles and organize things. Putting it in some kind of a bubble, almost like this classification thing that we looked at. Like, okay, this kind of fits in this category. That kind of fits in that category. Knowing that they're all in one category is gonna kind of help clear things up, I think.
It all exists in this universe.
Yeah. Or in our minds. Or maybe the universe is in our minds.
Either way, it's inside something.
Oh, shit.
You know? It's all in the universe.
Yeah. That's a vagina, dude.
Now I want you to make a circle around me. And Nico, I need a big square.
Oh, yeah! Dude. I think that's a perfect way to end this episode.
I'm down, man. That was a good one. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us again. This has been awesome. And,
thanks for coming back, you guys.
Yeah.
Great to see you. Great to smell you.
I'm excited to get into more topics, man. It's going to be epic.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yep.
All right, we'll see y'all next time.
Hey, should we tell everybody that we're going to be at Contact in the Desert?
Oh, yep, we definitely should.
Yeah.
We're going to be at Contact in the Desert 2025. And our documentary is premiering on June 1st.
It's finally done.
Get your tickets now to Contact in the Desert, and we'll see you there. Come find us. We'll hang out with you. We will buy you we'll buy our own beers. But we'll drink together. We'll drink a beer. We'll drink a beer together, and we'll hang out.
That's right. That's right.
Hell yeah.
Heck yeah, man. All right, perfect, dude. Well, hey, this has been another episode of UFO Garage. We'll see you next time.
Woo!